Let me start with this simple idea. In today's professional world, your expertise alone is no longer enough. Because if people can't see you, they can't appoint you as a lawyer, as a counsel, or as an arbitrator. Visibility, credibility, and trust count. Our speaker understands this better than most. Amanda Lee is an international arbitrator and consultant at Costigan King, advising on complex commercial disputes and arbitration matters. With what truly sets Amanda apart is, however, not just her legal expertise. It's how she has built a powerful and, I would say, purposeful presence in her field. She is the founder of Careers in Arbitration and Arb Balance, initiatives that have supported and connected thousands of, um, of people across the arbitration community. Through her widely followed Women in Arbitration Day platform and newsletter, she shines a spotlight on talent, promotes diversity, and most crucially, helps others become visible. From helping practitioners transition into arbitrators to advising on how to build a credible personal brand and a strong LinkedIn presence, Amanda has been at the forefront of a shift from being qualified to being seen. Today, Amanda will share how we can all take control of that presence online and use it to open doors, build trust, and shape our careers. So please join me in welcoming Amanda Lee. Amanda, I may hand over the mic to you.
Thank you very much. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you to Lawyering Plus and to our fabulous moderator for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all today about one of my favorite subjects, online presence. I didn't know I was going to be the season finale. That's pretty cool, isn't it, really? Now, I have some slides to show you all. Thank you very much. As we all know, visibility matters in arbitration. This field thrives on connection, and your online presence should be a key part of your professional brand building toolbox. How you show up online can play a significant part in driving opportunities your way. And after all, we all like opportunities. We also all know that the arbitration market can be, to put it bluntly, challenging. We're competing for client mandates, jobs, arbitrator appointments, expert witness work, speaking engagements, and so much more. I began my career at a boutique firm that was not well known in the arbitration space. It didn't do things like sponsor conferences or pay to play, and it certainly didn't have an online presence. So I couldn't ride its branding coattails when I decided I wanted to focus on this field. And so I invested time and effort in learning how to build my online presence. And by doing so, I was not only able to build my personal brand, but I subsequently went on to reinforce that by developing multiple arbitration-focused initiatives that in many ways revolve around online presence. As some of you will know, Careers in Arbitration now has a following of around 96,000 people. I will add at this point that your results may vary. Not everyone is going to create a Careers in Arbitration, and I cannot promise you'll be able to do that. Our Balance is now an official Paris Arbitration Week partner, presenting a fully subscribed event next week, which is not a bad showing there, I think. And Women in Arbitration Day, of course, has spotlighted more than 1,000 women over nearly 200 weeks now, and it routinely attracts about 100 engagements and tens of comments every single week. Online presence has brought me publication opportunities, speaking opportunities, the visibility to transition from institutional appointments as arbitrator to an increasing number of party appointments, and, of course, an amazing network of friends and colleagues around the world. And I am very confident it can help you too. So today, we're going to be exploring how you can stand out safely and strategically online and start turning visibility and thought leadership into real opportunities. So let me explain what we are going to cover. If I can get my slides to turn to the next slide. Hang on. All right, fabulous. So let me briefly explain what we're going to cover. First, we're going to talk about foundations, what online presence actually means in arbitration, and how to build it safely and professionally. Then we'll have a look at strategy. That means choosing the right platforms and thinking about what you actually want your online presence to achieve from a business development perspective. Then we'll have a look at how to build presence, what to post, and how to engage with others in a way that genuinely adds value, not just noise. And finally, we'll have a look at how online visibility translates into real business development opportunities, because after all, we're arbitration practitioners, not influencers. And along the way, I'll be sharing some practical tips to help you get started or take your online presence to the next level. Safety first, though. Before we talk about how to build visibility, we need to make sure that we understand the risks involved. Everything you do online contributes to your professional reputation. The same professional judgment you apply offline should be applied online as well. So if you work in a firm or organization, that includes complying with their social media policy. Many firms publish clear guidance on what you can say and where, what you shouldn't say, and how you should be presenting your firm affiliation. And even if your organization has no formal policy, it's still important to think about how your activity will reflect on your employer, your clients, your field, and your professional reputation. In particular, confidentiality must be preserved. That includes not only client information, but also internal matters, unpublished awards, and sensitive professional discussions. I don't care how sexy they will look on social media. Don't talk about them. Confidentiality is sacrosanct. Social media has a long life, and online content can have consequences you might not anticipate. If you need a good example, we have the Sun Yang case where an award was challenged because the presiding arbitrator had posted some strongly worded tweets criticizing a cultural practice using language that was perceived as offensive. The upshot, well, the Swiss Supreme Court found the posts created an appearance of bias and set the award aside. Not really the result you want as an arbitrator. So the lesson is not that you should avoid having views. We all have views. The lesson is that online statements can be interpreted in ways you may not intend, and perception matters in a field built on trust and neutrality. So never post anything you wouldn't want brought up when you're being considered for an arbitrator appointment 10 years from now. So the first principle of online presence is simple: be visible, but be thoughtful. So why should you focus on building an online presence if you care about business development? Well, the key is in the word presence. Having an online presence makes you visible. If you exist online, you're more easily discoverable. Clients, peers, and appointing parties are looking for expertise, but it's often easier to invest in a person than a resume. If your profile, posts, and engagement reflect your skills and focus, you increase the chances that people will think of you when suitable opportunities arise. An online presence also gives you the chance to amplify the work of colleagues and peers. When you share or comment thoughtfully on colleagues' posts, you strengthen collective credibility, not just your own. So basically, we all rise together. People start to notice when someone consistently adds value to conversations and the same names keep appearing when certain topics are discussed. That topic comes up, people will think of you. Visibility can be a bit of a minefield though, so it's important to be conscious of hierarchy and to be mindful of your place within your team, regardless of seniority. Appearing too visible, stepping on toes, or, heaven forbid, seeming to claim expertise prematurely are all best avoided, particularly when you're fairly junior. And prioritizing self-promotion at the expense of team recognition or firm culture is also likely to be poorly received. After all, nobody is likely to respond well to an intern who has become more visible than the senior partner because they're very, very good at using LinkedIn. So you can still build your presence responsibly though. Thoughtful, well-targeted engagement lets you contribute without undermining others. Celebrating team successes, amplifying firm thought leadership, highlighting topics you care about, sharing insights from events you attend, or adding perspective to a peer's post all demonstrate expertise, while also respecting team dynamics. Basically, be intentional. Every post, comment, or engagement should reflect your expertise and align with your business development goals. Your presence is a professional dialogue with your audience. It's like you're having a conversation. It's like good advocacy, basically. You're talking to the tribunal and you're explaining your position. When you're developing your online presence, you're doing the same. With that foundation in mind, let's start talking about where your visibility should actually sit. So that brings us to choosing platforms strategically. And for most arbitration practitioners, LinkedIn is still the platform to be on. It's where professional conversations happen, opportunities are shared, and some interesting background noise arises. And people actively look for expertise. There are also arbitration-specific platforms out there, and you will have heard of, I expect, at least YizConnect and RB City. And these can be very useful for networking within the arbitration community itself. Now, as for other platforms, Instagram can help to humanize your professional presence. But for arbitration, it's not ideal because, frankly, we're not very visual as a field. And Instagram really thrives on those beautifully curated, multicolored grids. Don't get quite so many opportunities to create those at arbitration conferences, so it might not be your strongest play on the social media front. YouTube can work well for longer educational content. And, well, there is also TikTok, of course, but I feel I've reached the point where I'm too old to comment on TikTok with any real sense of authority, so you're not going to find me on there anytime soon, I'm afraid. It's also probably not the best place to find arbitration thought leaders, but I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Basically, though, don't try to be everywhere all at once. It's much better to be consistent and professional on one or two platforms than absent and inconsistent across many. Do not spread yourself too thinly. Once you know where you want to be visible, though, the next question becomes, what are you actually trying to achieve on the platform that you've chosen? So, before you think about what you're going to post, and I know that lots of you here today are very interested in what sort of things you should be posting about, before you get there, it's worth pausing to actually think about what you are trying to achieve. What does business development actually look like for you? Now, for some of you, it may be attracting client work. For others, it might be getting a new job or seeking a promotion, so you want to be more visible. For some, it may be building credibility for arbitrator or expert appointments. You might be transitioning from counsel work into the arbitrator field. And for others, it may simply be about developing your international network or building visibility within a targeted specific industry sector. You need to know the destination before you can plot the roadmap. And this is also where a point that's often made by my friend Lara Quay of FTI Consulting is helpful. What she often says is that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And your online presence helps you to build all three of those things. People will get to know you. Hopefully, they will come to like your content and therefore like you in return. And if the things you are saying add value, they will hopefully start to trust what you are saying. So if your goal is appointments, you might focus on demonstrating neutrality and expertise. If your goal is client work, you might focus on demonstrating market and commercial awareness. If your goal is career mobility, you might focus on visibility and engagement with the wider community. Your content must reflect your direction of travel, and that means you need to know where you're going. So, once you know your objectives, it makes sense to think about how your professional profile can support them. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Your profile is effectively your professional shop window. If someone discovers you through a post or a comment, that's where they're going to go to understand who you are and what you do. And you can actually see how many people are going to your profile when you post something on LinkedIn. You can have a look at the analytics and you can say, it looks like 6 people went to my profile because they read this content, which is really interesting. So, what should you be doing with your profile? You need to keep it current. Profiles are not time capsules. So keep your role, your practice areas, and your areas of focus up to date. You're not going to attract clients or opportunities if what you're trying to sell is out of date. Profiles, unlike cheese, do not benefit from the stink of age, so be mindful of this. Plus, you need to be clear about what you actually do. Your headline on your profile should help people to understand your practice focus and your arbitration involvement. It shouldn't just blandly state your job title. What keywords might someone search for if they're looking for someone with your expertise? Have a think. Include those in your profile. And make sure too that your profile doesn't have obvious gaps. Don't miss out on the chance to connect with a fellow alum or a committee member because you failed to include your school details or to mention organizations of which you're a part. And finally, make sure your profile photo is professional. It's a good idea if it actually looks like you as well, because people are going to try and spot you at conferences and events based on what you look like. So semi-up-to-date is probably, probably good. It can be you on a good day, that's fine, but it probably does need to be you, and it needs to look like you. So bear that in mind. Ideally, aim to be consistent with your firm branding as well. Headshots appear on event flyers, and this helps to build visual consistency and brand recognition across platforms. So using your professional headshot is a good move. So once your profile provides you with a solid foundation, that content becomes the engine that drives your visibility. Now, when we talk about content, most people immediately think, what should I post? However, the more useful question to ask is probably, what do I want to be known for? If you want to build a reputation in construction arbitration, your content should reflect and showcase your construction expertise and experience. So what should you post? Well, something that does exactly that. If you want arbitrator appointments, your content should leave your audience in no doubt that you are ready to be appointed as an arbitrator. So be mindful of the message your content is sending. If you want to build an international network, your content needs to reflect an outward focus. Think internationally. So before you think about what you should post, think about what you want to be known for. Because content works best when it's aligned with direction. And this also means you need to think about your audience. Are you speaking to potential clients? Are you speaking to your peers? Are you speaking to institutions? Are you speaking to the next generation of arbitration practitioners? And more importantly, what value are you adding? So when you post, think about how you can contribute. Think about how you can give back. It's a good piece of advice for networking in general as well. If you don't want to be one of those people who's known for engaging in transactional networking, think about what you can give, not just what you can gain. So what value are you adding? It might be knowledge, visibility for others, synthesis of information, or thoughtful commentary. You don't need to produce groundbreaking analysis every single week. Often simply helping people stay informed or highlighting useful developments is valuable enough. So if you approach content through the lens of business development, rather than focusing on self-promotion, it becomes much easier to know what to share. Content is not just about those wonderful posts we all see on LinkedIn. I am delighted to announce. I am overjoyed to announce. I have never been happier to announce. These sorts of posts. It's not just about self-promotion. So, what can you actually post? What does this all look like in practice? Well, good professional content often falls into a few different categories. And for each of these, remember, what can you add that somebody else might not be able to? Where is your voice in this content? So sharing insights from conferences or events you attend is a natural starting point, particularly if you are a posting novice. Smiley photographs and brief takeaways help to show engagement and participation at industry events. They show that you were there, you're credible, you belong. Highlighting developments in arbitration, so things like new rules, sharing reports, commenting on statistics, or reflecting institutional developments also works well because you're helping your network to stay informed. You're giving your network information. We're all busy people. There might be developments that are of interest to your network they haven't had a chance yet to digest. So by sharing those things, you can add value. Celebrating colleagues' achievements is another strong category. It's a great way of generating goodwill and strengthening professional relationships. So if your business development goal is to increase your network in a particular industry, then recognizing your colleagues who are in-house in that industry is a great way of strengthening those bonds. Providing career insights is also valuable. Beju Vasani is a great example of a senior practitioner who expanded his online presence by sharing detailed mentoring advice. And such practical reflections often generate strong engagement because they resonate with others navigating similar paths. If you want someone to engage with your content, you've got to give them something that makes them want to say something in response. That's difficult because most of us are reluctant to comment. But if someone is sharing their path with you and your path was similar, people often feel the need to comment and to share. Top tips that illustrate your practical knowledge and experience can also be an effective way of engaging with potential clients. So share your insights in memorable and practical ways by creating infographics or lists to make the information easier to digest. And there are plenty of free tools out there like Canva that allow you to create professional quality graphics to support your content without too much difficulty. We can all become graphic designers now. It's very exciting, not for the graphic designers, but they're all learning how to use AI anyway, so it's fine. Everybody's broadening their perspectives here. And after all, you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to build presence. You just need to be a thoughtful participant in the conversation. So for those who never or rarely post, I appreciate it can feel a little bit daunting. So I'm going to share some very low risk ways to begin building visibility safely. Go. Everybody's got their own posting comfort level. It's important to identify yours so you know where you're starting from. A few gentle introductions there. You can repost your firm's news. You can share an arbitration article and add a couple of sentences explaining why it's relevant. Share reports, summarize a couple of points, tag some speakers at a conference panel you attended to thank them, share some takeaways from that particular event. Even adding short, thoughtful comments on someone else's post is a good way to start building visibility without exposing yourself too much, because you're just commenting on what someone else has said. You don't need to publish long articles or launch a newsletter. Small, consistent contributions are often far more effective and, frankly, far more sustainable because we're all busy. And building an online presence is about developing consistency. Ooh. I'm getting very, very excited with these slides. I'm whizzing through them at 90 miles an hour here. So consistency matters more than quantity. My weekly Women in Arbitration Day posts are a good example of this. So I started sharing these to highlight the women in our field who are achieving fantastic things during the week, and I share them every Friday. I use the same visuals. Occasionally I make it a different color and add some glitter, but most of the time I use the same visuals, and I use a standard message format. And over time, this series of posts has created recognition and expectation. People know what the content is, they know when it's going to appear, they know why it's relevant, and they keep coming back. So even if I post nothing else for an entire month, my followers know they're going to hear from me on Fridays. So basically, if you consistently share content that appeals to the audience you want to reach, you can build the network that you want. So think about who you want to reach, how you can give them the information they actually want to see, and how you can go about doing that with regularity. So you apply the same approach to business development. You attract the right audience or the right type of clients by consistently sharing content and showcasing expertise that is of relevance to them. So now you've got your content flowing consistently. It helps to understand a little tiny bit about how LinkedIn actually amplifies your activity. So a few practical points about how the LinkedIn algorithm actually works. Some of you might have noticed that personal posts tend to perform better than institutional posts. Psychologically, we invest in people rather than brands. The algorithm tends to boost personal content over institutional content. So if you repost something from your firm, always add some commentary of your own because the platform tends to reward personalization. Engagement matters as much as posting. Comments, particularly early comments, help to extend the reach and the life of our posts. What you want to see is engagement in the first 30 minutes or so, because that does the most to boost visibility. So help your colleagues out, engage with their content swiftly, and they're more likely to do the same when you decide to post. Now, hashtags are much less important than they used to be. LinkedIn did get quite excited about hashtags for a while and tried to promote them, but it's definitely taken a step back from hashtags. So remember, LinkedIn is not Instagram. You do not need to have 47 hashtags at the end of your posts. Insightful content and genuine interaction are more relevant, so don't worry about the hashtags. And consistency is more important than frequency. You don't have to post every day. You don't even have to post every week. But if you post regularly alongside engaging regularly, the algorithm is going to recognize that you are a valued contributor and your content will get uplifted. And one practical tip that helps you to navigate the joys of LinkedIn is to set aside a short, regular block of time each week to engage or draft content. Treat your online presence preservation as part of your professional routine, and that will make it very much easier to sustain in the long term. Now, and I'm mindful of time, I'm probably going to have a virtual sheep or something thrown at me in due course. I think they only do that on Facebook, which we're obviously not talking about here. Now, a picture can be worth 1,000 words. Pictures attached to posts tend to make sure that those posts perform better. Every post does not need to be accompanied by a smiling face, but as human beings, we're hardwired to respond to faces. And many people take advantage of this by sharing these wonderful posed shots. But headshots and posed photos tend to have diminishing returns because our brains register them as being somewhat artificial. They're posed. So I generally recommend using natural photographs from events, for example, rather than these posed studio shots. And if you're posting about something like a new publication, have a think about how best to effectively get your message across. I could have just put internet links to those books on the screen, but frankly, I would not have got anywhere near as much engagement as I got from holding them up and looking like a dork. If you don't believe me, the first one's got 701 likes, 134 comments, and multiple reposts. And the next one's got 168 likes, and again, multiple comments and reposts for a chapter I contributed to a book about, well, more than 12 months ago now. So the thing to remember, though, is I'm not actually selling the book per se. What I'm doing in these photos is I'm reinforcing my personal brand. It's not actually about, hey, go out and buy my book. It's about going, hey, look, I know about this stuff and I'm writing about it. So I don't mind looking like a dork because after all, I run initiatives that encourage people in our community to be vulnerable, to reach out, to be honest about their challenges and their triumphs. So I don't need to hide what that looks like behind a polished headshot. We all work hard. I don't mind you seeing me on a bad day. It doesn't matter. I'd rather that you actually get to see me as a human being, as an authentic individual, however silly I look holding up a book. Now, posting isn't the only way to be visible, so learn how to comment thoughtfully. Don't just say, well done, or congrats, or lol. Add something of value. Say why something matters, link it to your experience, make a new point. Amplify the work of others. And commenting is a great place to start for junior folks in particular. Now, I wanted to provide one real opportunity example here. And look, it doesn't involve a photograph of me holding up a book. Isn't that nice for you all? So how do you choose what to post about? Well, a good starting point is to remember that when everyone's talking about the same thing, people stop listening. So last year, I posted on LinkedIn about the Polish Chamber of Commerce releasing some new arbitration rules. At that time, pretty much everyone else in the field was writing about the SIAC's recent rule amendments. You might remember this period. They were everywhere. Every single post was about the new SIAC rules. I left that topic to others. I felt they were doing a better job of it than me, so I found something else to talk about. It was in the same ballpark, but it was different, it was new, and my topic hadn't reached saturation point, so it stood out. And so that post led someone in the legal press to reach out to me, so I was quoted in a professional publication. I gained new professional connections, and well, the arbitral institution were quite happy that I was talking about their rules, so they invited me to come and visit, which I sadly haven't done yet. But hey, any day now, I'm sure arbitration will take me there. It's taken me pretty much everywhere else. But visibility alone does not generate business. It's what you do with it that creates opportunities. So, how might some of the content examples I've actually given translate into opportunities? Well, sharing your insights or development signals expertise. Someone who notices your understanding of a new report, rule change, or trend might invite you to speak, collaborate, or consult. Celebrating others builds goodwill and trust. People remember who supports them, and they're more likely to approach you when opportunities arise or they need advice. Summarizing reports, papers, or statistics positions you as a reliable source of information. Again, that helps to build trust. That can lead to invitations to comment publicly from the legal press, to write articles, or to advise on projects. Engaging through comments or reposts and adding additional perspective shows judgment. It shows you're thoughtful. And appointing parties, clients, and collaborators tend to notice who is involved in these discussions. And using things like newsletters or curated updates ensures that your expertise reaches people who may not be actively following you, because after all, not everybody is on LinkedIn 24/7. So by using a newsletter, which you can produce through LinkedIn, it helps you to stay top of mind for appointments, work, or networking opportunities. So basically, everything you do adds up as your online presence builds. So we'll save AI, because I expect people will have a few questions on that. And I will conclude with my 3 takeaways here for you all to remember. Visibility drives opportunities. Thoughtful, timely, and consistent sharing allows people to notice your expertise, and it can lead to client work, appointments, speaking opportunities, and a stronger professional network. But you have to work out what you want if you want to actually achieve it. Secondly, engage authentically and strategically. Comments, reposts offering your perspective, and attempts to celebrate others' achievements build credibility and amplify both your voice and the work of your peers. It is possible to be both authentic and strategic, I promise. You can do both. And third and finally, plan your online activity with your business development goals in mind. Identify what you want to achieve, focus your content accordingly, and be consistent. Keep showing up, because quality over quantity matters, and you don't need to post every day to make an impact. By building an authentic online profile aligned with your professional goals, you can turn visibility into meaningful opportunities. So I encourage you to all get out there, get on LinkedIn, and start taking photographs of yourself holding up books or something else. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mandy, for the very great presentation. I thought it was very good to underline the fact that we should try to give back with posts and comments. And thanks also for the very first steps for easing into posting. Let's see whether we have questions from our audience. Stephanie, feel free to
I have a
raise your
question. Hi,
question.
Mandy.
Hey, Steph, how are you?
Hi, nice to see you. So I might have 2 questions. The one is regarding the Fridays posts, because I was wondering how you dealt with this might be a little bit more technical or algorithm related question, but how did you deal with the fact that, of course, LinkedIn is not pushing through the posts that are mainly on Fridays, sometimes also on Mondays. They relate more when they are posted Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. Did you have a problem with that, or did you see that consistency is again the key, and then you had great engagement due to that? And the second question would be, if I may, you mentioned how one should start, etc. I was wondering, because sometimes the LinkedIn landscape is very broad. Should someone in their first steps maybe focus on their market, meaning maybe national market, or on their peers, and in order to get the engagement of that first before going more international, also in terms of what they are posting? Is that a good strategy?
Okay, let's do the first question first. So, what some of you might have noticed about the Women in Arbitration Day posts is they actually post at 1:30 a.m. on a Friday morning in England. That means they post on a Thursday evening in the US. So by the time I wake up, the post has already been seen by the US and by Asia, and then by the time I wake up, it's sort of daytime in England. So I get around the Friday issue by basically posting on Thursday for a large number of the people who are following my feed. So essentially, that's strategic. And I'm lucky because I have an international network, and so it doesn't really matter when I post anyway. The content that I post on a Friday has so many people tagged in it that even if only a couple of those people engage with it, it's probably still going to get some traction. So if you are posting content that's very heavy in people who've been tagged, it's less of an issue on a when the algorithm is favoring Mondays and Fridays and things like that. The day I actually like posting, the day that is the sort of the secret day to post, is actually Sunday, because people on a Sunday in large parts of the world realize that unfortunately Monday is nearly with us. And so you'll often find that lots of people will start looking at their social media feeds again round about Sunday afternoon onwards. So if you post on Sunday, you can actually get a really good jump start on Monday. So I tend to get around the Monday problem by posting on Sunday, and I get around the Friday problem by posting Thursday night in the US. So that's to answer your first question. As to answer the second question, what should you be doing? It depends what you want to achieve, basically. If you are only interested in building your network, then it doesn't really matter if you start domestically and then build out and aim to go international, or if you aim to target everybody. If you want to build your domestic network, then obviously tailor your content to appeal to a domestic network, share domestic developments, highlight developments from your local bar institution, your local arbitral institution, and so on and so forth. And when you're looking at your kind of people you should connect with recommendations that you get on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn wants to help you to build your network, look for the people who are domestic and connect with those people. If you're looking to broaden, you want to go international, obviously broaden the scope of your content. Make your content international. Aim to be sharing articles that are written by international colleagues, so you've got international people to tag. So your content is going into their networks when they like it or engage with it. That helps you to broaden the web, as it were, of reach for your online presence. But ultimately, the question comes back to, what am I actually trying to do here? What am I trying to achieve? And once you've worked out what you're trying to achieve, you just have to work out how the best way what the best way will be to meet those objectives. So with Women in Arbitration Day, for example, my primary audience is people in arbitration. Obviously, the content is going to be more interesting to women in arbitration because they've got a chance of actually appearing in those posts, whereas men in arbitration are only able to engage with them and celebrate them. So the target audience is women in arbitration. And so the content is tailored towards women in arbitration. It recognizes women in arbitration. Those women engage with it, and that content then gets kicked out into their feeds as well because they're commenting and sharing it. And so the people in their networks then start connecting with me and looking at my content. And so I end up building a network of people who are interested in that content. So every time I publish one of those posts, more women in arbitration look at those posts. So it's about making the content that you're sharing work for you in terms of building the network you're trying to build. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Mandy. And Mihaela, you have a question as well.
I do, thank you. I found it very useful, the tips you had about understanding the algorithm, and I was curious to know whether you look at specific courses or anything to be up to date of in terms of what's happening on LinkedIn, or it's purely based on your experience? Because, for example, the tip that you mentioned that hashtags are not doing that well anymore. I was curious if something you picked up yourself, or if you, I don't know, following whatever LinkedIn updates are sending, or if there are any other people who are LinkedIn experts, who do you follow and who they will give you advice based on what works now, and not what's, interesting 2 or 3 years ago.
Sure. Well, I get some LinkedIn insights from the marketing associate at my team at Costigan King. So I will give a shout out to Anais in this regard. She provides me with some of the LinkedIn insights that I take on board. But mindful that because I'm so present on LinkedIn, I have to understand how the platform works, and I inevitably end up spending more time on it than the average person. A lot of the insights I pick up organically. The way my brain works, I spot patterns. So I see what's changing as it's changing, essentially. So I can sort of predict what's going to happen in a weird and wonderful way, which I know isn't very helpful to other people, and is something that helps me. Um, so it's for me, it's not too difficult to sort of get ahead of the game, because you start to see what's working and what's not working. You notice what content is being prioritized in your own feed, and you can draw inferences from that. In terms of people that you can follow if you're keen to learn more about LinkedIn in general, how it works, and so on and so forth. We actually have now a sort of tracking system for lawyers on LinkedIn that ranks lawyers. We sort of have league. Has anyone come across this? We have like legal influencers on LinkedIn for the UK at least. I'm going to see if I can find the name of the gentleman here, so I can share it with you all.
That's very interesting. Yes, Mandy.
Let me just, every now and again you'll see someone who's got like a top 50 legal influencer badge around their name. And every quarter or so, there is a report produced that looks at who is doing what's working, that sort of thing. And I'm completely failing to find this piece of information. But I'm going to track it down for you, because I am aware of the name of at least one of them. So I'm going to have a look at his feed now, and then I will be able to give you the name of this person. Forgive me. But you will, every now and again, you'll see every quarter or so, there'll be this big report that pops up, and it talks about who's a LinkedIn legal influencer. And bear with me. It's actually a rather interesting report, because you can see the backgrounds of the people whose content is resonating with the legal community in England in particular.
But until now, Mandy, you have no contact to LinkedIn directly.
No.
To there.
Sadly not. I don't have a secret back channel of information where they tell me what it is they're going to do next. It'd be quite nice if they did, actually. I think maybe they should be kind to me, and they should tell me this information. But no, I sort of work it out based on what I'm seeing, based on the patterns I'm observing. And obviously, when every now and again something unexpected will happen, and of course the big unexpected event in our respective lifetimes was the pandemic. And so when it came to content generation during the pandemic, the rules completely changed, because the things we'd been posting about previously no longer mattered. You can't post about attending events when there are no events anymore. You can't post about, happy, smiley people when you're not allowed to meet anyone. And so one of the discussions I was having with at least one of the arbitral institutions was, what are we posting about now? What's going on? What are the trends in social media? And so we had to sort of rip up the rule book and work out what the interesting things would be to post about. And careers in arbitration actually got, I'm going to, so I found it. So the company that produces this report is called TBD Marketing Limited, and it's called the Legal Linked Influencers. So it's like legal and then all one word, linked influencers.
Very nice. Thank you, Mandy.
Okay, so you've got that one. You've got that one. But yes, careers in arbitration got big during the pandemic. And it got big because despite the fact that there was no longer any vacancies, because nobody was hiring, it was a pandemic, so nobody would be hiring, I was able to identify content that would still resonate with my audience and keep sharing information. So what I did was I repurposed keynotes and well, not webinars, because webinars didn't really exist at the time, but I repurposed keynotes and other content from YouTube and shared that with my audience, which was bored and looking for something to do to develop their knowledge of arbitration. And so while other people were struggling with content, careers in arbitration actually became the juggernaut that it is now during the pandemic, because I was able to find an alternative. So you can always find something that will resonate with your audience.
Very good.
There we go.
Just as a note to everyone, we have the link to the TBD marketing within the chat. And we also have in the chat one final question to you, Mandy. Modana, do you want to tune in with your mic, or shall I read the question?
Yes, I can tune in. So, Amanda, thank you very much for the very interesting and insightful presentation. And I particularly liked your insight that interns should not try to claim expertise. But I was wondering, from your perspective, for recent graduates and for the ones in interns or very junior positions, what type of content should be prioritized? What to post about your personal milestones, or just to share in which projects or events you were engaged, or how to start to build credibility and presence from the very early stages of the career?
Well, thank you for your question, Modana. We go back again to what are we actually trying to achieve? If you're an intern, if you're at the beginning of your career, your target audience or your main target audience is going to be people who might hire you in the future so that you can pursue this exciting career in arbitration. So think about the sort of things that are going to give you credibility with that audience. So you want to show that you are engaging with the arbitration community. You want to show you're attending events. You want to show that you're keeping up with developments. You want to show that you're building your network. You want to show you're capable of working as part of a team. You want to show that you are getting involved with initiatives that benefit the community. So how do you do that? You attend events, you talk about them. You read articles, you do research, you share what you're reading, and you provide brief highlights. You don't say, and here is my very, very strongly thought, but not necessarily yet fully formed opinion on this particular topic. You essentially build on the knowledge that others are sharing, and you summarize that. You show that you are staying engaged. You show that you are reading. You show that you are working. You show that you are participating. You don't suggest that you know everything and you should therefore be seen as someone who must be hired, because you don't need to do that. When we're recruiting, when we're looking for people to join our teams, we're not generally looking for someone who is necessarily smarter than we are. We're looking for someone who understands the field, who understands that this is a community, that we're all participating in it, and that it's important to get involved. So you're looking for content that shows that you are committed to a career in arbitration, that you're genuinely interested in arbitration, that you're building your network, that you're getting out there, that you're keen to find mentors, that you're keen to find experience, and that you're capable of participating responsibly and informatively and respectfully. And it's not as difficult to do as it might sound, because there's so much content out there to share. It takes time, though. You cannot expect overnight to suddenly build a massive, great big audience and to find people who are keen to follow you. But I mean, I have mentees and colleagues who have set up initiatives where they've researched a topic each week, for example, and they've posted about it. And over 6 months or so, they've built an audience. They're getting engagement, and that has led to internships and it's led to opportunities. So anyone can do it if you're willing to devote the time and you don't run before you can walk, I suppose the expression is. I hope that helps.
Perfect.
Yes, it's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anyone can do it is, I think, a perfect closing remark also. Probably not only for this very great session on online presence with you, Amanda, but also for our season. A warm and heartfelt thank you to you, Mandy, for this great presentation, and also to our supporting organizations. We have the recording published on our YouTube channel, and also a summary in written form with Use Connect. If you do not want to miss any of these and our future and past episodes and initiatives, follow us on LinkedIn. And with that being said, we close today's webinar. So thank you all for showing up and for your questions.